My thumb swipes absent-mindedly on the iPad, until the photos appear. My wife. Exposed. Tangled with another man. In our bed. My breath catches. My pulse pounds. The room spins. A fresh wave uploads, a video. I tap it. Her voice, breathy, moaning his name. My stomach twists. My world shatters. But let's go back to where it all began. I used to believe we had a good marriage. Not perfect, nothing ever is, but solid. Emily and I had been together for almost 7 years, married for 4. We had the usual routines: morning coffee together, late-night movies on the couch, inside jokes that only we understood. I thought we were happy. I thought she was happy. Looking back now, I can't believe how blind I was. The signs were there, but I ignored them. Maybe I didn't want to see them. Maybe I trusted her too much. It started small, so small that it barely registered. Emily had always been affectionate, but at some point, she started pulling away. At first, it was just little things: a quick kiss instead of a lingering one, fewer texts throughout the day. Then came the excuses. I'm so tired from work. I've just got a lot on my mind. You're imagining things. She was always tired. Always busy. I convinced myself it was stress. Work had been demanding for both of us, and we'd fallen into a routine. Life does that. You get comfortable. You stop paying attention. Then she started guarding her phone like it was her lifeline. Emily had never been secretive about her messages before, but suddenly, her phone was always face down. If I walked by, she'd tilt the screen away. Once, I reached for it to check the time, and she practically snatched it from my hands. Geez, paranoid much? She laughed. But there was something behind her smile. Nervousness. Guilt. That should have been my wake-up call. But I ignored it. Then came the late nights. Emily had never been the kind to work overtime, but suddenly, she was always stuck at the office. A last-minute meeting. A work dinner. A networking event. The excuses piled up, each one more flimsy than the last. One night she came home hours late, the scent of alcohol and something else, something musky, clinging to her. Who were you with? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, you sound so insecure right now. I was with coworkers. Do you want me to start live streaming my entire day to you? I let it go. I hated fighting with her, and she always had a way of making me feel like the crazy one. Then came the intimacy shift. We'd always had a decent sex life, not wild, but steady. But one day it just stopped. If I reached for her, she had a headache. If I kissed her, she turned away. The distance between us became unbearable, but every time I tried to talk about it, she brushed it off. Not everything is about sex. I just need some space. You're being so clingy lately. It wasn't just sex. It was everything. The way she stopped saying I love you first. The way she avoided eye contact when I asked about her day. The way she started dressing up more, wearing perfume on random errands. I kept telling myself I was overthinking. But deep down I knew. Something was wrong. Then, one night, the lie that changed everything. Emily was getting ready, slipping into a sleek black dress, one I hadn't seen in months. She looked stunning. But something felt off. You never dress up for me anymore, I said, half joking. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It's just a work dinner. With who? She hesitated. Just for a second. But I caught it. The usual team, she said quickly, grabbing her purse. Don't wait up. I should have questioned her more. I should have checked then and there. But I didn't. Instead, I kissed her cheek and let her walk out the door. I let her go. And that night, while she was supposedly at her work dinner, her phone was busy. Pictures. Videos. Uploading to our shared iCloud. A betrayal happening in real time, waiting for me to find it. And when I did, my world would never be the same. I used to believe we had a good marriage. Not perfect, nothing ever is, but solid. Emily and I had been together for almost 7 years, married for 4. We had the usual routines: morning coffee together, late-night movies on the couch, inside jokes that only we understood. I thought we were happy. I thought she was happy. Looking back now, I can't believe how blind I was. The signs were there, but I ignored them. Maybe I didn't want to see them. Maybe I trusted her too much. It started small, so small that it barely registered. Emily had always been affectionate, but at some point, she started pulling away. At first, it was just little things: a quick kiss instead of a lingering one, fewer texts throughout the day, a subtle shift in how she responded to my touch. Then came the excuses. "I'm so tired from work. I've just got a lot on my mind." "You're imagining things." She was always tired. Always busy. I convinced myself it was stress. Work had been demanding for both of us, and we'd fallen into a routine. Life does that. You get comfortable. You stop paying attention. Then she started guarding her phone like it was her lifeline. Emily had never been secretive about her messages before, but suddenly, her phone was always face down. If I walked by, she'd tilt the screen away. Once, I reached for it to check the time, and she practically snatched it from my hands. "Geez, paranoid much?" she laughed. But there was something behind her smile. Nervousness. Guilt. That should have been my wake-up call. But I ignored it. Then came the late nights. Emily had never been the kind to work overtime, but suddenly, she was always stuck at the office. A last-minute meeting. A work dinner. A networking event. The excuses piled up, each one more flimsy than the last. One night she came home hours late, the scent of alcohol and something else, something musky, clinging to her. "Who were you with?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, you sound so insecure right now." "I was with coworkers." "Do you want me to start live streaming my entire day to you?" I let it go. I hated fighting with her, and she always had a way of making me feel like the crazy one. Then came the intimacy shift. We'd always had a decent sex life, not wild, but steady. But one day it just stopped. If I reached for her, she had a headache. If I kissed her, she turned away. The distance between us became unbearable, but every time I tried to talk about it, she brushed it off. "Not everything is about sex. I just need some space. You're being so clingy lately." It wasn't just sex. It was everything. The way she stopped saying "I love you" first. The way she avoided eye contact when I asked about her day. The way she started dressing up more, wearing perfume on random errands. I kept telling myself I was overthinking. But deep down I knew something was wrong. Then, one night, the lie that changed everything. Emily was getting ready, slipping into a sleek black dress, one I hadn't seen in months. She looked stunning. But something felt off. "You never dress up for me anymore," I said, half joking. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's just a work dinner." "With who?" She hesitated. Just for a second. But I caught it. "The usual team," she said quickly, grabbing her purse. "Don't wait up." I should have questioned her more. I should have checked then and there. But I didn't. Instead, I kissed her cheek and let her walk out the door. I let her go. And that night, while she was supposedly at her work dinner, her phone was busy. Pictures. Videos. Uploading to our shared iCloud. A betrayal happening in real time, waiting for me to find it. And when I did, my world would never be the same. I wasn't looking for anything. That's what makes it worse. I wasn't suspicious that night. I wasn't checking up on her. I wasn't playing detective. I was just sitting on the couch, mindlessly scrolling through my iPad, killing time while Emily was at her so-called work dinner. It was late, and I was debating whether to go to bed or wait up for her when the notification popped up. New photos uploaded to iCloud. At first, I barely registered it. Our devices had been synced for years. It was convenient. If she took a picture, I could access it on my iPad, and vice versa. Most of the time, it was random stuff, pictures of our dog, grocery lists she snapped at the store, the occasional selfie. It was automatic. Thoughtless. Harmless. Until it wasn't. I clicked the notification without thinking. The photo app opened. And then, just like that, my world shattered. The first image didn't make sense at first. It was dimly lit, a blur of skin, a twisted bedsheet. My brain lagged, trying to process what I was seeing. Then the next photo loaded. Emily. Her dress pushed up. Her body tangled with someone else's. Their faces weren't visible, but I knew. I knew. My breath caught in my throat. My vision blurred. My hands trembled as I swiped again, like some sick part of me needed confirmation. Needed to be sure. Another photo. His hands on her. Her head tilted back. Another. Her lips parted. His face in shadow. Another. The timestamp glaring at me like a final nail in the coffin. Tonight, 9:47 p.m. I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened, my stomach twisted, and for a second, I thought I was going to be sick. My ears rang. The world around me faded, my focus narrowing to the images in front of me. The absolute, undeniable proof that my wife was cheating on me. In that moment, time stopped. The weight of betrayal settled over me like a suffocating blanket. And then, the worst part, the video. A fresh notification appeared. One new video uploaded. My body moved on its own. I tapped it. The screen filled with motion, the audio kicking in before my brain had time to brace for impact. Emily's voice. Soft at first, then sharper. Familiar, yet suddenly so foreign. Then his voice, low, murmuring something I couldn't make out. My stomach clenched as the sounds escalated, the unmistakable rhythm, the breathy gasps. I dropped the iPad like it burned me. My whole body felt hot and cold at the same time, my pulse hammering so hard it made my head throb. I staggered to my feet, pacing the living room, running my hands through my hair, trying to ground myself. But nothing felt real. I felt like I was outside my own body, watching my life implode from a distance. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch something. I wanted to unsee it, to erase the last 5 minutes from existence. But there was no taking it back. The truth was out. And the truth was, my wife had been lying to my face for God knows how long. For a few seconds I just stood there, breathing heavily, staring at the iPad like it might come to life and mock me. Then my brain kicked into survival mode. I needed to know everything. I grabbed the iPad, my fingers still shaking as I navigated to the full album. More photos. More videos. A sickening timeline unfolding in front of me. It wasn't just tonight. It had been going on for weeks. The timestamps told me stories I hadn't even known were happening. The night she came home late from drinks with coworkers. There was a photo from that night too, her in a different hotel room, wearing lingerie I'd never seen before. The weekend she told me she was visiting her sister? Another video, her voice echoing in a space that sure as hell wasn't her sister's house. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. How many times had she come home, kissed me, told me she loved me, while still carrying the scent of him on her skin? I wanted to break something. Throw the iPad against the wall. Shatter it like she had shattered me. But I forced myself to stop. Not yet. I needed to be smart. I needed to think. Emily still didn't know that I knew. A new thought took hold, burning through my rage with a dangerous clarity. I had leverage. She had no idea her private little stash had synced to my iCloud. No idea that her entire affair was sitting right in front of me, gift wrapped in high definition. I could confront her. I wanted to confront her. But not yet. No, I needed to let this simmer. Let her walk through that door, smiling like nothing had happened, spinning more lies, thinking she had gotten away with it. I checked the time. She'd be home soon. The idea of seeing her made my skin crawl, but I needed to act normal. Pretend I was none the wiser. So I took a deep breath. Put the iPad down. Sat back on the couch like I hadn't just watched my entire marriage go up in flames. And I waited. Because when she walked through that door, I wasn't going to give her the reaction she expected. No yelling. No accusations. Not yet. Just a single question, calm and measured. So, how was your night? And then I'd watch her lie to my face. The door clicked open, and Emily walked in, completely unaware that the ground beneath her was about to collapse. She looked normal. Like a woman coming home from a casual night out. Her makeup was still intact, her hair neatly styled, her black dress hugging her body like it had in those photos. The only thing missing was him. "Hey," she said, setting her purse down. "Why are you still up?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see my wife. I saw a liar. A woman who had spent the last few hours with another man and still had the audacity to act like nothing had happened. My fingers dug into the couch, my knuckles white from the pressure, but my face remained neutral. I wasn't going to give her an easy out. I forced a small smile, controlled, measured. "Couldn't sleep. How was your night?" Emily kicked off her heels with a sigh, running a hand through her hair. "Ugh, exhausting. The dinner dragged on forever. You know how corporate stuff is. Lots of boring small talk, people trying to impress each other." She waved a dismissive hand, heading toward the kitchen. "I barely ate anything. I'm starving." Her words were smooth, effortless. But I saw the micro-expressions now, the way her shoulders tensed slightly, the flicker of hesitation in her eyes before she spoke. She had no idea she was standing in front of a ticking time bomb. I leaned back, keeping my tone casual. "Yeah? Who was there?" She grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, her movements too controlled, too deliberate. "Oh, the usual team. Mark, Sarah, some of the newer guys. Nothing exciting." Lies. I had seen the proof with my own eyes. Yet here she was, weaving a story like she had done 100 times before. How many times had I swallowed her lies without question? How many times had she looked me in the eye, knowing she was betraying me? I exhaled slowly, standing up, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Emily." My voice was quiet, but there was an edge to it now. She turned, eyebrows slightly raised. "What?" I watched her closely, studying every twitch, every shift in her posture. Then I said it. "Where were you really tonight?" A flicker of something, shock? Guilt? It was gone in an instant, replaced by a scoff. "What's that supposed to mean?" I took a step closer. "It means I don't believe you." Emily's mouth opened, then closed. She let out a forced laugh, shaking her head. "Jesus, are we really doing this? You're acting paranoid." I didn't say anything. I just picked up my iPad from the coffee table and turned the screen toward her. Her face was still defiant, until she saw it. The photos. The videos. The undeniable proof. Her skin paled, her breath hitching for just a fraction of a second before she masked it with a weak, disbelieving laugh. "What? Where did you get that?" "Our iCloud," I said coldly. "It syncs automatically, remember? You sent these to me." She stared at the screen, her face shifting from shock to panic, then to something else, calculation. I could see the gears turning in her head, searching for a way out. And then, just like that, her expression hardened. "This isn't what it looks like." My grip on the iPad tightened. "Are you fucking serious, Emily?" She folded her arms, her voice rising. "No, listen to me. It's not. Not what? Not you? Not tonight? Because I have the timestamps. I have the fucking video." I stepped closer, my voice low, shaking with barely contained fury. "So go ahead. Lie to me again." Emily's mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time, she looked cornered. Trapped. Then she tried another tactic, tears. Her eyes welled up, her lip trembling as she stepped toward me. I messed up," she whispered, reaching for my hand. "It was a mistake. A one-time thing." I jerked away from her touch like it burned me. One time? I laughed bitterly, grabbing the iPad and swiping through the evidence. Was it one time last week? Or one time last month? Because, funny thing, Emily, I've got proof of a lot of one times. Tears spilled down her cheeks, her breathing uneven. I was lonely, she choked out. You've been distant lately, and I felt like we were losing each other. I stared at her in disbelief. So your solution was to fuck someone else? She wiped her tears, shaking her head furiously. No! It just happened! Bullshit! I snapped. You don't accidentally cheat. You don't accidentally book hotel rooms or sneak around behind your husband's back. My chest heaved as the rage surged through me. You made a choice. Over and over again. Emily's breathing was ragged now, her face twisted with desperation. I swear I was going to end it. I let out a humorless laugh. Oh yeah? Before or after the next batch of pictures? Silence. That was it. The confirmation I didn't even need at this point. She had nothing. No real excuse, no way to justify what she had done. And now, she stood in front of me, crumbling under the weight of her own betrayal. For a long moment neither of us spoke. The only sound in the room was the distant hum of the refrigerator, the quiet ticking of the clock on the wall. Then I exhaled, my voice eerily calm. I'm done. Emily's head snapped up, her eyes wide with panic. No, wait, please. We can fix this. I love you, You don't love me, I said flatly. You loved getting away with it. You loved having both. I took a step back, feeling lighter somehow, like the weight of her lies was finally peeling off me. But not anymore. Her tears came harder, but I felt nothing. No sympathy. No regret. Just an overwhelming sense of clarity. I turned, heading toward the bedroom, already knowing what came next. Because this wasn't just about confronting her. This was about ending it. I don't remember falling asleep that night. I don't even remember lying down. One moment, I was standing in the bedroom, staring at the walls like they might give me answers, and the next, it was morning. Sunlight crept through the blinds, too bright, too harsh, like the world didn't care that my entire life had just fallen apart. For a second, I forgot. I woke up the way I always did, instinctively reaching toward Emily's side of the bed. But it was empty. Cold. And then it hit me. Everything came rushing back in a sickening wave. The photos, the videos, the lies, the way she had stood in front of me and still tried to talk her way out of it. My stomach twisted, my chest tightening with a pressure that felt unbearable. Emily was in the living room. I could hear the faint rustling of movement, the occasional sniffle. She hadn't left. Maybe she thought there was still something to salvage. She was wrong. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, my body heavy, my head pounding from the weight of it all. My hands trembled as I ran them over my face. I had never felt this kind of exhaustion before, not just physical, but deep, bone-crushing exhaustion. The kind that settles in when everything you thought you knew turns out to be a lie. I stood up, forcing myself to move. The house felt different now. Colder. Empty in a way I couldn't explain. I had built a life here with Emily, filled these walls with memories, laughter, love. But now, all I saw was a stage where she had performed her lies. Every kiss, every late-night whisper, every moment we had shared, it was tainted. Polluted by her betrayal. I walked into the living room. Emily was sitting on the couch, clutching a coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. She looked up when she saw me, her eyes red and puffy, her face a mess of dried tears and regret. "Please," she whispered. "Talk to me." I laughed, but it came out hollow. "Talk to you? About what, Emily? How you accidentally fucked another man?" She flinched like I had slapped her. I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I swear I still love you." I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "You don't get to say that. Not after everything." Tears spilled down her face again, but I just stared at her, numb. I had spent so many years loving this woman, giving her my trust, my time, my everything. And she had thrown it all away for what? For him? For a thrill? I don't even know who you are anymore, I muttered. Was any of it real? Or was I just some idiot who didn't see what was right in front of him? She covered her mouth, stifling a sob. It was real. We were real. She choked on her words. I was stupid. I was selfish. But I never wanted to lose you. I clenched my jaw, my fists tightening at my sides. You did lose me, Emily. The second you decided that we weren't enough. She looked like she wanted to argue, like she wanted to reach for me, but I stepped back before she could. I couldn't take it. The sight of her, the sound of her voice, it made me sick. I felt like I was suffocating, like I needed to get out before the walls closed in. I turned on my heel and walked toward the door. Where are you going? She asked desperately. I didn't stop. Didn't turn around. I need air. And then I was gone. I walked. I didn't know where I was going, didn't care. I just needed to move. The cold morning air bit at my skin, but I welcomed it. It kept me from drowning in the storm raging inside my head. I thought about everything. About how I had spent years building a life with someone who clearly never valued it the way I did. About how easily she had lied to me, how effortlessly she had looked me in the eyes and denied it all. And then, beneath the anger, beneath the betrayal, I felt something else. Something worse. Loss. Because no matter how much I hated her in this moment, no matter how much I wanted to erase every memory of her, a part of me still loved her. And that was the cruelest part of all. I didn't go back right away. I walked until my legs ached, until the cold air numbed my skin, until the burning in my chest dulled into something bearable. And when I finally returned home, stepping back into the space that no longer felt like mine, Emily was still there. She was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the floor, her hands gripping a crumpled tissue. She looked up when I walked in, hope flickering in her tired, swollen eyes. I closed the door behind me, exhaling slowly. I want a divorce. The words came out steady, calm. No hesitation. No anger. Just the simple, undeniable truth. Emily's face crumpled. No. Please. There's nothing left, Emily, I said, cutting her off. You made sure of that. She shook her head furiously, scrambling off the couch like she could physically hold the marriage together if she just reached for me. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. I let out a sharp laugh. Therapy? You think talking is going to erase what you did? I shook my head. You didn't make a mistake, Emily. You made a choice. Over and over again. And now I'm making mine. Tears streamed down her face as she stepped closer. I don't want to lose you. I looked at her then, really looked at her, and for the first time, I saw someone I didn't recognize. Not my wife. Not my partner. Just a stranger who had worn my trust like a disguise. You already did. Her shoulders sagged, the fight draining out of her. She knew. She had lost. I turned away, walking toward the bedroom. I grabbed a bag, started throwing clothes into it. I couldn't stay here, not another second. Every inch of this house was poisoned with her lies. When I walked out of the bedroom, Emily was still standing there, frozen in the wreckage of everything she destroyed. I didn't say goodbye. There was nothing left to say. I walked out the door, leaving her behind. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt free. It's been 6 months since I walked out of that house, 6 months since I looked Emily in the eyes and told her I was done. The divorce papers are signed. The marriage is over. And somehow, I'm still here, still breathing, still standing. The first few weeks were brutal. The silence was the worst part, the kind that presses in when you're alone with your thoughts, when every quiet moment is filled with memories you don't want. I'd wake up expecting to hear her in the kitchen, see her curled up on the couch, feel the warmth of her beside me. And every time, reality hit me like a freight train. But time does what it always does. It moves forward, drags you with it, whether you're ready or not. The pain dulled, little by little. The anger faded. The grief settled into something manageable. And eventually, I realized something. I wasn't broken. She didn't break me. I've learned a lot through this, more than I ever wanted to. I've learned that love isn't just about feelings, it's about actions. It's about respect, loyalty, and the choices we make every single day. Emily made hers. And now I'm making mine. I choose myself. For anyone going through this, for anyone who feels lost in the wreckage of betrayal, just know this: you will survive. It won't be easy. It will hurt in ways you never imagined. But one day, you'll wake up, and the weight will be lighter. The memories won't cut as deep. And you'll realize that the person who betrayed you? They were never worth losing yourself over. I'm moving on. And that, more than anything, feels like victory. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the story. And subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new interesting stories. See you soon.